This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Dr. Stephen Gamble, President of Southern Arkansas University since 1992, is our guest today.
Welcome, President Gamble.
Well, thank you very much.
President Gamble, could you tell us a little bit about your educational background?
Be happy to. I received a bachelor's degree from Texas Tech University in 1967. Went off to the military for 4 years, came back to graduate school at Texas Tech and received a doctorate in 19th century U.S. history.
President Gamble, you came to SAU from Canyon, Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
That is West Texas A&M University. Just what was your position and title at West Texas A&M University?
I was Vice President for Academic Affairs and Associate Professor of History.
Dr. Gamble, were you just recently offered the position of President at A&M in Commerce, Texas?
No, I applied for the position, but they chose not to offer me the position.
What are some of the differences that you see between SAU and the West Texas State University?
Actually, I see probably more similarities than differences. They are both good regional institutions. By that I mean we have a responsibility for a geographic area of our states to offer quality post-secondary educational opportunities. At West Texas State, I think we did it well, and I know we do it well here at Southern Arkansas University. We're primarily both baccalaureate institutions and really emphasize the classroom, emphasize student success. So again, I see a lot more similarities than differences.
SAU, like other universities, has a building program. When you arrived here in 1992, the Brinson Art Building was just finished, and you've had since then some historical buildings such as Caraway and Jackson Hall torn down to make room for the future. How do you feel about losing history in the name of progress?
Well, I hated that the university felt that it needed to raise those two buildings. Before we did that, we looked into the possibility of restoring the buildings. But when we found that it would literally cost more to restore those buildings than it would cost for new construction, we thought that those facts made the decision for us. They were two buildings with character, and again, I wish they were still standing, but not at the cost that we would have to pay. There are other ways of maintaining a history of an institution without just buildings or facilities. And I think tradition-wise, we do a very good job of remembering our roots, back to Magnolia A&M, and really before that to 3rd District and Southern State College, and then Southern Arkansas University.
Just for the information, where was Caraway Hall located? It's not anymore, but where approximately on campus?
Caraway was located between Bruce Center and Nelson Hall.
Okay, and the other, Jackson Hall?
Jackson was very close to Caraway. They were not really side by side, but they were very close.
Dr. Gamble, has the new business Agra building that was built in 1993 helped increase the business and Agra majors?
I don't know that it's really helped increase the enrollment, but I think it's increased it's increased the quality, I think, of the education that we can offer people. For example, the computer lab in the ground floor of that, in the first floor, is wonderful especially for the business students. Rooms like the one we're in today, we wouldn't have any place else on campus if not for this. Business, I think their enrollment has been fairly stable since '93, but I really think that probably the quality of the students has gone up some in business. Agriculture, on the other hand, is really grown. They have I've more than doubled their enrollment since the inauguration of this building.
Since you've arrived here in '92, there's been a lot of building, and along with it needed to be the sewer system needed to be upgraded.
Right.
And how did you manage that situation, and where did the money come from that did the upgrading?
First, we had no choice. Pollution Control and Ecology, Arkansas's PC&E, condemned the way we were handling our sewage. We had to do it a different way. We were able to work with the city to get a low-interest bond for, I believe it was around $350,000 to put in a sewer system that would tie to the city's line. We got the money the good old-fashioned way. We borrowed it through a bond issue in conjunction with the city. We think that has solved our sewage problems for a long time.
When you came here, what was the enrollment, student enrollment? Do you remember offhand?
No, I really don't. I would guess it was probably around 2670, 2680, but I honestly don't remember.
So it stayed just roughly, that's what it is around now?
No, we're
now,
probably
no?
100 less than that now.
Oh, okay.
But again, we've tightened our admission standards in that time, and the growth of the two-year technical colleges and their conversion to be regular associate degree granting colleges has eroded the enrollment at all four-year institutions. I mean, literally without exception. We have stabilized our enrollment, though. I think about 4 years ago our enrollment was around 2630, and today it's 2565. So when we look at the quality increase that we've had with our entering freshman class, the increase in the retention rates and graduation rates, we feel comfortable with where we are.
Do you feel, Dr. Gamble, that the Nelson Hall renovation was needed?
Oh,
Why?
yes. Nelson Hall had reached the point where we had to either renovate it as a residence hall, close it and tear it down, or convert it to something else. When we looked at the student service functions that we had on campus and how crammed they were, for example, student financial aid didn't even have private rooms for its counselors. The registrar's area was not a good situation. You'd have lines going all the way up the stairs and almost out the building from the business office. There was every reason to try to consolidate the student affairs functions into one building and make it something that we were proud of. I mean, our students deserve good surroundings when they conduct their business with the university, and we have provided that with Nelson Hall.
We're now in the middle of renovation or adding to the gym area.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how long it will take, what it will entail in building, and what it's going to accomplish for the students and the staff and the professors.
All right, certainly. The Health, Kinesiology, and Recreation Building, more commonly known as the gym, had through the years become our #1 project for renovation. It was meeting the basic needs that we had for that program, the HKR program, but that was all. We were able to secure around $3.5 million from the state of Arkansas through a college savings bond program. All institutions in the state got some money for this. We elected to put ours toward the renovation of the HKR facility. It was begun last summer, and its anticipated completion date is August of '98, right before the start of the spring semester, or of the fall semester. So we have moved our HKR faculty over into Graham Hall, and we have closed down the HKR building while it's undergoing its renovation. We are adding a exercise physiology room to it, a physical therapy room, and an auxiliary gymnasium. Now those are the main additions. There will be some additional offices created, and basically the building will be a state-of-the-art HKR facility. I might also mention that we took some institutional funds and put toward the project for redoing the athletic rooms, the athletic dressing rooms, especially to get the women's dressing rooms up to the standard of the men's for gender equity purposes.
Dr. Gamble, do you have any plans for the DOF camp? And what would you like to see the building used for if SAU had the money?
Our plans right now for DOF camp are to keep the exterior of the building looking good, looking as good as anything on campus, and to keep the recital hall functioning. The rest of the building will be shut down as soon as music moves over to the Brinson Art Building. Our plans for it right now are just in limbo. We don't have any. We would like to obviously obtain and I couldn't give you the dollar amount. Every time I do, it grows by another 100,000, it seems, as we discover something else. But say it would take $800,000 to redo the building. That's something we don't have, and it's something right now we don't know to whom to ask. We don't know who to ask the money from. I could see converting it into any number of things depending upon the requirements for getting the money to do so. But right now we have no grants pending, no requests pending, and the money is very simply not in sight.
It seems that when you want to do a renovation or knock a building down and build a new building, you have to hunt for that money. And then when you find some of the money, just money, it has strings attached to it, like what you can use the building for. You find that with most everything that you look for?
Yes, there's very little undesignated money that can come from anyone. We're in the process now of preparing a grant to the Rural Development Agency for money to redo Peace Hall. One of the major criteria for that is that it has to be tied to either job retention or job development in your local area. Something that Cross Hall would not, I'm sorry, not Cross, but Camp Hall could not qualify for, but perhaps Peace Hall could. I don't know what our chances are of getting that, but we are applying. We're very aggressive in applying for external support.
Dr. Gamble, you came here in 1992.
Yes, ma'am.
What were some of the changes you want to accomplish and you have accomplished?
Well, the first thing I'll say about the institution in 1992 is it really, I think, was in good shape. It was in good shape financially. Through the years, good people had been hired to staff both the administration and the faculty. The emphasis I really wanted to place was on student success. Buildings are fine, but you can have the nicest buildings in the world and the best technology, but if you're not having students that are successful, students that are completing their degrees and going out into society and competing well for jobs, and then doing well once they get the jobs. If you're not doing those things, it doesn't matter what kind of buildings or technology. So what I have really tried to emphasize since I've been here was student success, giving students the opportunity to succeed, giving them the tools to move forward, and to get them out in society with that degree to really make society a better place, plus provide a better life for themselves and their families.
The American Disability Act, about how far along has the college proceeded in implementing this act into the different areas? Well,
it's a rather complicated bit of legislation. Part of it deals with learning disabled students. Paula Washington Woods, I think, does a very good job. I continually receive compliments about her and her office from people that use their services to help address the disabilities they have at the institution. A lot of the ADA is facilities oriented. ADA compliant bathroom facilities, for example. Doors that are accessible and routes into buildings that are accessible for wheelchair-bound individuals. We have done, I think, a lot of this, but we have recently, late last summer, as a matter of fact, about midsummer, we received $501,000 from the state of Arkansas. We were the only school in the state that got this money. It is to address ADA problems. We're going to be able to put elevators in a couple of buildings, to redo some sidewalks, to redo some landings into buildings, pathways into buildings for the like. So we're doing, I'd say, better than a good faith effort. I mean, we are working hard to try to make us a more accessible campus.
Do you have a time limit on that at all?
No. I believe it would have to be spent within the next 2 years, but we probably will have almost all of it spent by the end of next summer.
Since SAU grew, there were some new buildings and some parking problems. In 1992, what kind of a parking nightmare did the front of Overstreet face, the staff and the students?
Well, the front of Overstreet back in '92 was a two-way street. You know, right now it's one way. There's only one way in, one way out. It's a very narrow area, but yet it was two-way. So very simply, what looked like an easy solution was just to make it one way in, one way out, and it seems to have worked a lot better. We had people that would be, you know, there's two grass islands there, and we had people that use those as parking spots, and so we started giving tickets to get those people off. Parking probably will always be a concern, and I understand it. None of the senior administrators has a designated parking spot. None of the president's council people. I mean, we get out there and we hunt for spots like everybody else, so we know what it's like.
What does SAU subscribe to in parking in the system? It seems like there's permits and special parking spots, and of course that's the kind I'd like to have. So I didn't know exactly how it was designated, how you come to that.
Well, we have a parking plan on file. In fact, I think it's got to be on file with, I believe it's the Attorney General's office, but somewhere in Little Rock. I'm not sure. But we try to keep the maximum amount of parking open to our students and visitors to campus. We have a set number, and I really couldn't tell you the number, of spots that we will sell to faculty and staff. But we have about 3 years ago told student government that we wouldn't exceed that number. And we don't. I think we probably have a waiting list of 3 or 4 people that are faculty or staff waiting for one of those to come open, and then they will have an opportunity to buy it. We have rented the roller rink across from the new armory, across from the pond in front of the new armory. That seems to have alleviated a lot of the parking problems over on that side of campus. We have plans, probably within the next couple months, I would think, to create a parking spot of between 35 and 40 spots in the vicinity of Bussey Hall. We think that's the number one, the most needed parking on campus. My official position on parking, and it's never been a popular one, but it's one I honestly believe, is I still maintain it's more of a convenience problem than it is a parking problem. People that have gone to larger schools, as I have done, would think nothing of walking 15 minutes from their parking spot if they were fortunate enough to have a designated spot to their office. Here we're small, we're in the rural part of the state where parking traditionally is not a problem anywhere from Walmart to the banks, and we have to live in that environment, and we know it, but deep down I don't really believe we have the type of parking problem that other places have.
What do you think of the question that SAU could use some of its grass areas for parking?
I don't know which grass areas you mean.
For instance, around the business building?
Okay. I think with the roller rink parking, and occasionally, and I haven't done that probably in about 2 weeks, but when I drive around and look at the parking on campus, I find over at the roller rink area, which is maybe a 4-minute walk to the business building, I find spots there at the busiest times. 10 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, there are spots available there. So right now, I don't think I would entertain a suggestion to convert some grass areas or cut down any additional trees or anything for more parking. Maybe if enrollment grows, that'll be something we have to look at.
Dr. Gamble, on January 1 of '93, you proposed a university non-smoking policy to the Board of Trustees. And since then, SAU has been smoke-free buildings. At that time, what was the main purpose of the non-smoking policy? What did you have in mind?
That probably, and again, going back to '93, I'm going to have to just try to remember, but I believe there was a lot of the information was being reinforced on secondhand smoke and the dangers thereof. The federal government, including the military, was in the process of eliminating smoking from their facilities. Other universities were doing it. It seemed a good time for SAU to do it as well. I don't believe I have received any complaints at all about the smoking policy. Now, please know that in the residence halls, people can still continue to smoke. In one-person offices in the university, we allow people to smoke as well. So it's not a total ban, but it is a ban in the public areas.
Even though there is a non-smoking policy, there have been some fires recently in the residence halls. What new safeguards or restrictions have been implemented to prevent it and to increase the safety in the residence
Well,
halls?
we've tried to provide more education on fire safety, as well as just flat personal safety to the people in the residence halls. We have, and I would say it's at least 3 times a semester. I think it's supposed to be once a month. We have the residence hall director and an RA supposed to go into every room, make sure that the smoke alarm is working, make sure that there is not an unapproved power strip and the like. In other words, to look at the room for safety purposes. Now, the recent fire that began, the preliminary report I heard was it probably was caused by a cigarette that had come in contact with some trash and caused the fire. I think we're always going to have that risk. It's always going to worry me. But as long as people continue to be careless, we're going to have that problem. Our goal is to educate them about not being careless just as much as we possibly can. We run fire drills and things like that to try to educate people about what to do.
Has SAU ever considered a drug testing program?
For faculty and staff? For students?
For students?
We have drug testing now for student athletes that's required by the NCAA. I believe we have drug testing for people that have a commercial driver's license, I believe. If you're talking about just students in general or faculty and staff in general, no, we've never considered it.
Was any attempt at one time for the nursing program?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think nursing might, I'm getting in an area I'm not familiar with now. Nursing may require that now. I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Usually there are not many articles in the Bray about drugs. Is it because SAU is a clean campus, or do you think that the police handles the situation pretty well?
I think in comparison to some other universities, at least what I hear from some of my colleague presidents, I think we probably are a little cleaner than a number of places. But I'm also not so naive to think that there aren't drug users among our student body. I'm certain there are alcoholics. There are people that have those problems in their life. So I'm sure we have that. The one thing I will stress is that whatever is uncovered at the university, we make no effort to hide. We lay it right on the table, and we will continue to do that about drugs or alcohol or anything else. I would imagine that alcohol among our students is probably a greater problem than illicit drugs, although they're both not good, obviously.
Southern Arkansas University, with all its problems, building, parking, fire, and the many problems you must handle each day, when do you find the time to teach United States history?
Well, comment first on the history and then the first part of that, if I may. Since I have been here, I think since my first talk with the faculty during my first month here, I've emphasized the importance of the classroom, the importance of student success and student achievement. And I believe that if you talk that much about it, you ought to practice it. So I enjoy teaching. I have a good class this time, and it's just something I enjoy to do, and I've always been able to carve out time to do it. One thing I am proud of is that I have never missed, the times I have taught, and as many times I have to run to Little Rock and the like, I have never missed a class because of having to run to Little Rock or for any other reason. So I'm proud of that, and I think that shows how serious I am about the classroom being important. You also had listed kind of a litany of problems at the beginning of that question. I really wish I could sit y'all or a number of people down with some presidents at other institutions sometime and let them tell you about the problems at their schools. Listen, we are so fortunate at Southern Arkansas University to be mostly on the same sheet of paper about the direction of the university, to be able to address the problems and the questions we have in an open environment and work as a university to resolve them. I would say any problems we have, and we certainly do have some problems, but I think they pale in comparison to the many positives that we have here at SAU. I mean, I feel so fortunate that we're in as good a financial shape as we are, that our infrastructure is in such a good shape, that we have such an excellent teaching faculty. Just the pluses outweigh the negatives so much here. It's amazing to me.
Dr. Gamble, do you think that the students' increase in the residence halls is connected with the freshman retention somehow?
I think undoubtedly. We've really put the resources into trying to keep more of our freshmen. I mean, it's common sense that if you're going to increase your graduation rate, which is our ultimate goal, you've got to keep them through their freshman year to become sophomores. We have increased our freshman retention rate 5%, or 6%, I'm sorry, 6% in the last 2 years. A number of those students are the ones who live on campus, and they are electing to remain. So I think things like supplemental instruction program, which I think is just one of the most wonderful programs we have here at the university. Things like the freshman seminar, the mentoring program, I think all of those really work for the good of the students. The freshman advising is, I believe, much improved over where it was 5 years ago.
We're a country of computers with information from the internet. The college paper is online. When will Mule Rider, the college yearbook, be available on CD-ROM? And what happened to last year's yearbook?
I wish I could tell you what exactly happened with last year's yearbook. The end result is we still don't have it. I'm not sure exactly what we will be able to produce for a yearbook based on last year's activities, but we are in the process of trying to put something together. It was more of a personnel problem than anything else, and I really can't get into it into a lot of depth, but to tell you the truth, it's embarrassing to me and to the university. I had suggested to a committee at the beginning of this year that we look into going to a CD-ROM in lieu of a hardback annual. Some other institutions are doing that, although I don't know any in Arkansas. Arkansas normally runs a little bit behind the national trends, which is not all bad. I mean, I think a lot of that's healthy even. But I presented that to a committee, and the committee didn't think it was a good idea. They wanted to continue the traditional approach of a hardbound annual, and that's what we're doing. We have an editor this year that I believe is committed to the task at hand, and I think he'll produce a good annual.
Dr. Gamble, what do you envision for the future of SAU students?
Well, for the future, I'm really hoping that we can go back to our past and bring forward the things that have made SAU strong. We have always emphasized, for example, opportunity. You know, we maintain the lowest tuition fees, room and board of any four-year institution in the state. I mean, it was that way before I got here. That's not anything that I brought with me. That, I believe, is a commitment to opportunity. We have $1.2 million in student labor funds that we expend each year. That's more than institutions that are much bigger than we are. We do that to provide our students with opportunity. The theory of competition, the theme of competition, producing students that can compete to get into veterinary medicine school, physical therapy, or med school, compete with their peers at other institutions, and our folks are the ones that are selected for the most part. Those things we need to pull forward from our past into our future. The future also will obviously entail more technology, which requires more money. There's nothing cheap, inexpensive, I should say, about today's technology. But our students are going to need to be more and more technologically literate when they hit the job market than they probably are today. So I see that for the students. I think there are changes in the way we'll even deal with library resources that technology will bring on us. So I would say technology is a continuing theme. Another theme that our students are going to have to deal with, almost in any major area at the institution, is the global economy and the internationalization of all of our curricula. I mean, we're no longer just Arkansas in the United States of America. I mean, we're Arkansas in the world at large. That is changing dramatically, and will continue to change for our students. Well, the fact that you're here today is proof of that, Anastasia.
President Gamble, we want to thank you for joining us, being our guest today. I am Doreen Durham.
And I'm Anastasia Theodoridou. Thanks for watching.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.